Hi Year 7, we're going to do some work today on area of compound shapes, so do put a date and a title, and I would suggest you copy certainly this first example into your notes book in section 8. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's area and length and volume or something like that I think it's called. So do sort of pause the video, put date and title in your exercise book and get ready to make a note of this first one in your notes book. Doesn't matter if doesn't look exactly the same, but just draw it with a ruler. It doesn't need to be drawn to scale or anything. So this first one, the key tip with compound shapes is, and today we're going to really look at ones with rectangles, and if you get through loads of the work you might get onto one with triangles, so we're not going to be working with any of the difficult area rules I think some of us struggled with last week. But the key point to compound shapes, you probably come across compound maybe in science or in English, but the definition is kind of the same across English, science and maths. It's two or more things sort of put together. And it's the same with compound shape. So the key thing, so what we have to do is to split the shape back up into individual shapes that we can work out. So this one, I kind of see it's made of two rectangles, and I could split it up back up two ways. I could split it up down here and do this rectangle and this rectangle. I think I want to split it up here though, but I could split it either way as long as I did it right. And then all I have to do is work out the area of the two rectangles and add them together. So I need to do base times height. I'm going to start with this big rectangle because it's quite clear. This big rectangle's got a base of 10 and a height of 7. It's really important you're careful with the numbers. Some people might look at that and do 10 by 9, but this rectangle here doesn't have a height of 9. The 9 centimeters goes up higher than this. It's got a height of 7. So it's going to be 10 times 7. So I'm just going to put a little note for myself so I know what I'm working out and it's nice and clear. It's 10 times 7, which is 70. And I don't need to put units in my workings. I'm going to put units in my final answer, but I don't need units in my workings. Then I'm left with a small rectangle, or possibly square. It's a bit like a square, but it might be a rectangle. Now the small rectangle, I can see that it's got a width here of 1.5, but it doesn't tell me the height, and this is one of the main skills of compound shapes. It's working out lengths that aren't there. It's a height, so I'm going to look for other heights. I've got a height of 9 centimeters here, and a height of 7 centimeters here, and I can see that this little bit here is the difference between the 7 centimeters and the 9 centimeters, so it must be 2 centimeters. So that means the small rectangle is 1.5 times 2, which is 3. And then for the total shape, all I need to do is add the big rectangle to the small rectangle to get the total area, and now I can put my units in. So it should be quite nice, just splitting the shape up. Some of the ones on the sheet you can split it into 2 rectangles, sometimes you might have to split it into 3 or 4 rectangles. You split it up, you make sure you're really careful with the lengths, don't just pick the numbers willy-nilly, make sure you're using the right lengths for what you're trying to work out, and then add up, in the case of this one, for the total area. We'll go through one more together. You don't need to make a note of this one, but you can if you wish. Some of you might like to have a go at it. This is sort of the opposite really. So here we've got a shape where it's sort of got a big rectangle, then with a small rectangle cut out. And we don't want the whole big rectangle, we just want the shaded bit, the bit with the small bit cut out. So I'm going to start with the big rectangle, which has got a base of 25 and a height of 20, so it's 25 times 20, which is 500. Then I'm going to do the small rectangle, which we can see is base of 4 and a height of 2, so it's 4 times 2 is 8. And then this time I don't want to add them together because this is inside this and it's getting taken out. So I'm going to do the 500, take away the 8, which means it's 492, and again the units for this one will be centimetres squared. So you're just going to have a few more questions like that to practice for today. You need to practice that up until the end of the lesson. And then I will speak to you for a pre-recorded lesson on Wednesday. Make sure you're doing those workings and those sketches in your book and marking your answers as you go. And then any questions or problems, let me know. But otherwise, have a lovely weekend and I'll speak to you next week.